newsletter. So even if you lose your connection, you need to leave. But today's topic is using artificial intelligence for tutoring. And Open Literacy is thrilled to be able to bring some practitioners in the field to this workshop. So let me first introduce the folks who are going to be presenting today. First, there's Katie Thompson, who is the Integrated Education and Training Coordinator for Troy Continuing Education. Katie has vast experience braiding English as a second language instruction with practical career training. She is a certified teacher, and just last week she presented at a state conference for adult educators in Michigan on harnessing AI tools to enhance the learning experience for adults. Next, I'd like to, so Katie, can you kind of wave? And if you are on kind of a gallery view, you might want to switch to speaker view. You can do that switch in the top right corner of your Zoom screen. But Katie, can you just say hello?
Hi, everybody. I'm excited to be here with you today. Thanks for the invite.
And next, I'd like to introduce Rob Connolly, who is Oakland Literacy's math program coordinator. Rob has a PhD in math, and he taught math at the college level at Oakland University before joining our team. Rob, can you say hello?
Hello, everyone. Welcome.
Then there is Rob Wilson, our other Rob, who is an ESL tutor for Oakland Literacy, but he's the guy who called me several months ago with a lot of excitement about using AI for tutoring and kind of opened my eyes to the potential of this technology. Rob is retired from Procter & Gamble, where he worked in sales and as an instructional designer. Rob, can you introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. My children would tell you that, yes, I am very easily excited for things that come up like this.
And finally, most of you know me, Lori Weeks. I'm the program director at OLC, overseeing our program of tutoring services in basic reading, math, ESL, and digital literacy. So today we're going to start with an overview of AI from Katie, because most of you indicated that you are not familiar or only somewhat familiar with this technology. After Katie gives you an overview, then all of us are going to give you some examples of how to use this to create customized lesson plans for your learners. At the end of Katie's overview, if you have questions kind of about it in general, she will answer those questions. And then at the end of all of our demos, we will also take questions about how to use this on a practical basis. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Katie.
Thank you. I would like to actually start with a video since this information is so new and it's such a complicated topic to kind of explain what it is. I'm going to go to an expert. I'm going to share just a 5-minute video to show what is AI and what is the processing that they're going through to create this kind of technology. I'm going to share my screen. I'm not going to be able to show the full screen video. You're going to have to kind of see the advertisement and the other videos around it, just to make screen sharing a little bit easier. But hopefully everybody can see my screen here if I start the video.
Picture this, a machine that could organize your cupboard just as you like it, or serve every member of the house a customized cup of coffee. Makes your day easier, doesn't it? These are the products of artificial intelligence. But why use the term artificial intelligence? Well, these machines are artificially incorporated with human-like intelligence to perform tasks as we do. This intelligence is built using complex algorithms and mathematical functions, but AI may not be as obvious as in the previous examples. In fact, AI is used in smartphones, cars, social media feeds, video games, banking, surveillance, and many other aspects of our daily life. The real question is, what does an AI do at its core? Here is a robot we built in our lab, which is now dropped onto a field. In spite of a variation in lighting, landscape, and dimensions of the field, the AI robot must perform as expected. This ability to react appropriately to a new situation is called generalized learning. The robot is now at a crossroad, one that is paved and the other rocky. The robot must determine which path to take based on the circumstances. This portrays the robot's reasoning ability. After a short stroll, the robot now encounters a stream that it cannot swim across. Using the plank provided as an input, the robot is able to cross this stream. So, our robot uses the given input and finds the solution for a problem. This is problem solving. These three capabilities make the robot artificially intelligent. In short, AI provides machines with the capability to adapt, reason, and provide solutions. Well, now that we know what AI is, let's have a look at the two broad categories an AI is classified into. Weak AI, also called narrow AI, focuses solely on one task. For example, AlphaGo is a maestro of the game Go, but you can't expect it to be even remotely good at chess. This makes AlphaGo a weak AI. You might say Alexa is definitely not a weak AI, since it can perform multiple tasks. Well, that's not really true. When you ask Alexa to play Despacito, it picks up the keywords play and Despacito and runs a program it is trained to. Alexa cannot respond to a question it isn't trained to answer. For instance, try asking Alexa the status of traffic from work to home. Alexa cannot provide you this information, as she is not trained to. And that brings us to our second category of AI, strong AI. Now, this is much like the robots that only exist in fiction as of now. Ultron from Avengers is an ideal example of a strong AI. That's because it's self-aware and eventually even develops emotions. This makes the AI's response unpredictable. You must be wondering, well, how is artificial intelligence different from machine learning and deep learning? We saw what AI is. Machine learning is a technique to achieve AI, and deep learning, in turn, is a subset of machine learning. Machine learning provides a machine with the capability to learn from data and experience through algorithms. Deep learning does this learning through ways inspired by the human brain. This means through deep learning, data and patterns can be better perceived. Ray Kurzweil, a well-known futurist, predicts that by the year 2045, we would have robots as smart as humans. This is called the point of singularity. Well, that's not all. In fact, Elon Musk predicts that the human mind and body will be enhanced by AI implants, which would make us partly cyborgs. So, here's a question for you. Which of the below AI projects don't exist yet? A, an AI robot with citizenship. B, a robot with a muscular skeletal system. C, AI that can read its owner's emotions. D, AI that develops emotions over time. Give it a thought and leave your answers in the comment section below. 3 lucky winners will receive Amazon gift vouchers.
I don't have an Amazon gift voucher for you. I want to give you the correct answer. I'll just pause here for a second. So there is a AI robot that has citizenship in Saudi Arabia.
Oh,
And they are creating in Japan. They're working on creating breathing apparatuses for illnesses. So we do have AI robots with a muscular skeletal system. The AI, it can read the owner's emotions. It interprets what you are feeling. However, the AI cannot develop its own emotions yet. So D is the one that does not exist. AI cannot develop its own emotions, but it can interpret other people's emotions and respond to it. All right, we'll move on.
over time? Give it a thought and leave your answers in the comment section below. 3 lucky winners will receive Amazon gift vouchers. Since the human brain is still a mystery, it's no surprise that AI too has a lot of unventured domains. For now, AI is built to work with humans and make our tasks easier. However, with the maturation of technology, we can only wait and watch what the future of AI holds for us. Well, that is our
All right, I'm going to switch back over here. As you can see, that was so much information in a short amount of time. I just can't articulate that system and the processing. But I do want to answer any questions that you might have about what was mentioned in the video. Is there anything that came up that you would like a little bit more clarification about? And I'm sorry, I can't see everybody, so you can just speak up.
I have a question, Madhuri Hazra.
Yes,
Can
please.
you hear me?
Yes.
AI can read emotions, but it's only if the human being is showing the emotions. If you keep a blank face, they won't be able to read you. Am I correct?
That is correct. So they get input. So they get input. What does sad look like? What does happy look like? And if it doesn't fit their input, if it doesn't have the information that they understand to be that emotion, they cannot read it.
So if I am crying, they cannot really tell if it's a happy cry or a sad cry, correct?
Yes, depending upon the input that they've received, if they have been taught happy cry and sad cry, they may be able to distinguish the difference, but it also may confuse them because that is 2 opposite emotions. So their decision, the AI decisions, are all based on algorithms, and those algorithms come from the information that is input to their system. So they can't do anything that they haven't been taught to do. So it is very human controlled at this point. Good question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, so I'm going to switch over to kind of the big implications here. What does this look like in our world now? In businesses, we're seeing that there's a new job. It's called the AI ethicist. So this is usually a committee of lawyers and technology experts. And they are making sure that when a business uses AI, that there is fairness, there's no biasy. There needs to be privacy and transparency about how they're using it. So businesses are developing teams and they're hiring these positions to make sure that they're using their AI responsibly. One thing about input and that bias, I just want to give you one example that I heard that I thought was powerful. There are cars that drive themselves. They're being piloted in San Francisco. So you can Uber with a car which has no driver. The thing that you have to be careful with is that car has been input with images of people, and it knows it needs to stop for people. However, if that car does not have an input, if nobody explains that a person in a wheelchair is something that you need to stop for as well, it won't stop. So I just thought that was a great example explaining bias and how important it is that that input represents everybody to ensure the right response of AI. Hopefully that makes sense. Any questions about that? We're doing okay? All right. There is a government oversight committee about AI. They meet quarterly. I did put in a link here, and I'll share this with Lori to email to you. You can watch the government's response. All of the big, I'll call them the big players, the big companies that are developing AI come to the hearings and they discuss what's happening, what their concerns are. Actually, their biggest concern is not military action. I know that's a common fear that a lot of people have. The AI experts are really more concerned about misinformation. Because AI operates on the information that's input into the system, it's very important that the people who are inputting the information have ethical honest intentions in informing that AI. The other here are big companies that are involved in AI. So OpenAI is the biggest. They are the one that developed ChatGPT. ChatGPT is the first, and it's usually agree that it's the strongest AI system right now. And so this company is the one that created it, OpenAI. And they also have a nonprofit sector. So they have a for-profit and a nonprofit sector. The nonprofit sector works on ethical use of AI. So they're always analyzing how they're using this and why they're using it. A big competitor is Anthropic. They are in San Francisco, and Amazon is their biggest funder. So you can imagine the amount of money that's going into AI. In OpenAI, their competitor, Microsoft is funding them. So you have billionaires investing large amounts of money in this race to be at the top of AI. So that's why we're seeing it escalate and grow so quickly. OpenAI was started by Elon Musk, but he left the company. So it was initially Elon Musk, but they parted ways. But just you can see these are the people with the big money that are working on this. Any questions so far? Are we doing okay?
Hey, Katie, Molly Renwick. I just have a couple questions for you.
Yeah.
So, chat, AI.
ChatGPT, yeah.
ChatGPT. Okay. So anybody can use that and it's safe to download on your computer?
Yes, that's a great question. It is safe to download. It's used by many people. They do require you to make an account. And this is the same with most AI technology. You need to create an account. And they usually have a disclaimer that there are humans collecting your information that you input, the prompts that you ask for. Somebody's watching because they're still learning about this. So they're using the information you put in to analyze the system. So there is usually a disclaimer on all of these. Don't put in personal information. Use this for, a professional or, non-privacy communication.
Okay. And my second question is, there's all these committees and people are trying to make it ethical and, the government's trying to set up, judiciary committees and stuff.
Right.
But as of right now, is there any oversight on using these AI applications right now? Is there any accountability for anybody that's making these?
Yes, there are rules in place. Those that is above my understanding, though, the government involvement and the limits that they've set on that. There is some mutual funding because we want to know the capability of this, and as a country, we want to be the first to learn, right?
Of course.
There is government involved in that. You can see, if you research AI, you can see that there are more and more lawsuits coming into the court cases, which is really where we decide what's ethical and what's allowed is through our court cases. So those continue to grow, and those decisions are being made.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Katie.
Yeah.
Miriam Pergament, I have a question.
Yeah, Miriam.
Since how long has AI been in existence? Since the government's doing it every 4 months, sounds like it's been around for a long time.
That's a great question. I don't have an exact answer. I don't know when it came to the forefront. I do know that the ChatGPT, the information that's been input into it is current up to 2022. So everything in that system is dated, right? So when they made that live, that version, it has to only use the information that it has. It doesn't update itself automatically. So the current ChatGPT, the information available in that system is up to 2022. So I know that's not an answer to your question, but that's ChatGPT is the biggest, and that's the latest version that they've come out with.
Katie, and this is Rob. There might be an additional answer that I was poking around here. The first ChatGPT came out in 2018, which I was
Oh.
interested to see that it was so recent.
Thank you, Rob. I appreciate that.
Hey, Katie,
Yeah.
just for ChatGPT, I know there's been some questions about, you have to make sure that all the information is correct before you use it, because there could be some misinformation in it. How reliable is ChatGPT, do you think?
Well, it has all information. This is their claim, that it has all information up to 2022. So anything true, false, anything available is in there. So it is definitely human analysis that you have to look at that data and decide what's there. I'm going to click here. This was I thought a good visual to explain ChatGPT. That middle section has a lot of information. It can always look different, right? Those sandwich toppings, but on both sides is the human factor. You have to input your information correctly and you have to review the output. So this is definitely something that's not just independent. You can use it. It needs a human factor to input and judge the output.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
One is ChatGPT. Is there only one app called ChatGPT, or ChatGPT could be created by different companies and there are different types?
That's a great question. And that's going to lead me to my next slide here. So you'll see this symbol right here. This is a symbol for OpenAI. So when you're looking at artificial intelligence and you see this symbol, that means that it was created by OpenAI. That is the biggest company working on AI right now. There are many different companies working on this. So this ChatGPT is considered to be the strongest. However, Google has its version. It's called Bard. Microsoft has Bing Chat. Anthropic has the same system. It's called Claude. So these are all called, the term here is called text generators. So they have large information input into them and they can generate text. So ChatGPT is the most popular. It's the first one that came out. It is considered to be a little bit stronger than and reliable than the other ones. But those are all available. They're just a different company making the same type of system.
So that brings to my second question. The AI and Anthropic, was it? Are those two just done differently? Because OpenAI is a collaboration for many people, many companies, and it's open to anybody, but the other ones are probably have to pay for them or whatever, I don't know. But they are singly developed by corporations with their thoughts and their ideas. So
Correct.
that's the difference between them then. Okay.
Yes, these are all businesses. They are working on inputting all information. So all information means that they have access to the same. It's really the difference how they produce their algorithms to output information, if it's giving good output or if it's unreliable. So they're all working with the same information basis.
Thank you.
Katie, this is Lori. In the
Yeah.
interest of time, let's hold the rest of the questions until the end and kind of move on to look at the application of AI.
So here I have the definition. This was created by ChatGPT, so it made a definition of itself. I'll share this with you so that you have time to read it. Here is the basics. And I know there were some questions about cost. This is ChatGPT 3.5 right here. You can see what on their opening screen. This is free. They now have a newer version, an updated version that's called ChatGPT 4 or ChatGPT Plus. That is $20 per month. This is pretty common for all of these technologies. There's a free version and there is a super powered version that you have to pay for. So when you get into these, you always want to look how much access do you get for free, and do you need to pay to get higher level good service. So I always look for that. ChatGPT 3.5 has served all of my purposes. People who use this more regularly say ChatGPT 4 is off the hook compared to 3.5, that it's very advanced and can do quite a bit more. But here is that front screen. When you go to their website, right here, it's going to say send a message. The important part with ChatGPT is to know how to prompt. So when you're asking for information here, you're prompting. And I want to go here. I know this is hard to see, but this is kind of like a cheat sheet for prompting. So I'm going to send this to Lori, and it's going to show you like key terms to use. When you're asking for something, how do you ask for it? You can also see on there that there's tones. So you can ask it to be conversational, you can ask it to be funny, you can ask it to be formal, and it will change the output. So I want to share that with you as a resource, because prompting is really the key to creating a correct response and getting what you want. So I will share that with you. Just some highlights here of how to use it as a tutor. I have examples of these. I know we don't have time today, but just to use ChatGPT for these alone will change your life as a tutor, in my belief. I'm not always a tech fan because I feel like sometimes tech makes my life more difficult. I love AI because it feels like it makes my life easier. It really, truly does. So writing and editing aid, you can have students write a paragraph. You can input it into ChatGPT and say, can you correct this? Can you tell me the grammar errors? And can you correct the errors and explain why mine was wrong? You can ask it to write it more professional. You can change that text, that original text, and get explanation as to why the word choice is different, why the grammar is different. So just think about that. You know, writing is so hard to correct as a tutor because it's time intensive. So you may want to let ChatGPT be the corrector for you. It will save a lot of time. Math and science, you can easily input these long word problems and say, give me an explanation and the answer, and it will give you step-by-step how to solve that problem. Accessibility is really important. We know we have some low readers, so you can really take any text out there. If you want to talk to your student about the news today, but it's always been too hard for them to understand, you can copy and paste that article. You can put it into ChatGPT and you can say, rewrite this article for somebody with an ESL level 3. It will rewrite it. You can ask it, make a vocabulary list for this article to help us understand it. It will make a vocabulary list for you. And this is all in seconds. It generates very quickly. The last one, you can have ChatGPT create a whole lesson plan for you. So if you say, I have to tutor students about going to the doctor, write a 1-hour lesson plan for me, it will create, you know, in the first 10 minutes, do this. In the next 5 minutes, do this. It may say, you know, create a worksheet. All you have to do is prompt it then and say, please make this worksheet, and it will produce that worksheet to go along with that lesson. So it can save you a lot of time. One thing that I love to do is create dialogues. So if you're thinking about a student that has to go to the doctor and they don't know what to say, right? You can input, please tell me what to say to the doctor. I have flu symptoms. I have a fever. I've been coughing for 3 days. And it will write it nicely and help them explain those needs to the doctor. So they really have something quick and easy to help them express themselves better. So I know I went a little bit long, Lori, but I hope that that kind of touches on how you can use it as a tutor with giving you some basic information of what it is.
Thank you, Katie. Can we turn this over to Rob Wilson and then Rob Connolly?
Thank you, Kate and Lori. Hang on just one second. So like Lori said, I'm coming to you from number one, my home office in Troy, Michigan, but also from a career from Procter & Gamble. Lori, can you see that? Can you see my screen okay where it says students and examples?
Yes, you're not in presenter mode though.
I tried to be. How about now?
There you go.
Great. So Katie, that was fantastic. Thank you very much. I loved a number of things that Katie said, and I'll be building on those. I tutor a couple of students. You can see them there, a woman from Korea named Sukja and a woman from named Anne, who's from France. Both of them follow their husbands over here for jobs in the car companies, which is probably not uncommon for what you have, how you're tutoring. They had two different levels. Sukja was a much lower level English speaker than Anne, the one from France. And so their needs were very different. And I found a quote here. This builds on what Katie said around prompts. When she said prompts, my brain thought she's talking about questions that we're going to ask these artificial intelligence systems that are going to give us what we want. And it will save you time, like what Katie said there. I heard a podcast the other day where people were saying, you can think of this as amplification intelligence as well as artificial intelligence. So it's just amplifying things that we may already be able to do. The system can just do it so much faster for us. So that's what's in it for you, the ability to save a lot of time. So a couple examples that I put in here, because what Lori asked me to do was just share some examples of how I've used this. I asked the artificial intelligence system that I use, and it is ChatGPT that I use, and I'll say more about the other systems here in a second. But I said just what you see there at the top. Give me pairs of words that do not have a magic E, and then words that do have a magic E. And you may be saying, what is this magic E? Some of you may know, some of you may not. My third grade granddaughter had a worksheet on her desk, and it was like 50 words that are magic E. So you can see them there. If it has no E down low, it's hop. Then if you add a magic E, it becomes hope, long vowel, right? Cut, cute, bit, bite. Now you and I could sit here and come up with 30, we could probably come up with 10, but the beauty of these artificial intelligence systems is that they can come up with those 30 pairs of words, like Katie said, in about 2 seconds. And then you can just copy it and paste it and use it as a worksheet. That's how I've really used these systems most, is just in a worksheet that I've been working with my students or with the people. Let me show you another one, and then I'll pause for a question here. On a bigger level, I know there's a lot of text on here, but I asked ChatGPT up there in the blue box, it says, please give me 20 scenarios where a Korean speaker would need to converse in American English. So that builds on what Katie was saying in terms of a lesson plan, essentially, things that I'm going to work with Sukja on, things that she might need to do. And so we can practice that, and I can pick and choose which ones of these things I'm going to share with her or work with her, whether it's traveling in the United States or using a social media platform or a parent-teacher conference like the system that Oakland Literacy Council has for us, which I'm drawing a blank on the name right now. It was funny when Katie was talking, she was saying, you could ask the system, please give me, and it always makes me smile. And when I type into these artificial systems, I do add the word please because it makes me smile, even though I know I'm talking just to a very large database that's been loaded here. So I always say, please give me 30 sentences that include the word that starts with PH. I always put in the number that I want. I don't know what the exact default is for these artificial intelligence systems. It might be 15. If I said, give me sentences rather than a number that I asked for, I think they'd probably give me about 15, but I always put in the number that I want. So here I ask for this, and ChatGPT will come back with this phrase that you see there in the middle of the screen. It'll say, certainly, here are 30 sentences that include words starting with PH. And and you can see them right there. So I can practice reading these with Sukja or Anne. I can read it first if I want to. They can read it and I can coach. Either way, this list of 30 sentences here, they were not perfect. There was one that had a PH that it said you pronounce the P and the H here, and that was not correct. So my experience with these systems is that it is very close to being accurate, but not completely accurate all the time. Sometimes you'll find a sentence in there that doesn't fit with what you asked for. I've been talking a lot pretty fast there. I have a couple more examples. Should I pause for questions before I keep going here?
No, we're going to take questions at the end just so we can
Great.
get through all the demos.
Just a couple other examples here. You can do it to develop quizzes. Please give me 20-question quiz. And it'll come up with 20 questions of a quiz and it'll give you the answers. It gives you the answers just by default. My other granddaughter was working on a math problem. You can copy that math problem and paste it in and it'll solve that math problem. So we as tutors, you may choose to use this just for yourself, for something else. I'm pulling my phone up because when Katie was talking, I thought, you can turn on the microphone in your system and you can say this to the artificial intelligence system. Is it right to say, explain me? Because sometimes Anne, who's from France, will say, can you explain me this? And we all know that we would not say it that way. We would say, can you explain to me? And sure enough, when I hit the microphone, said that into ChatGPT, it came back with the answer, which I don't expect you to read on my phone here, but it is very fast. This does also allow me to say, like Katie mentioned, you need a logon ID to use ChatGPT, and I only use the free version, as Katie said. There's another system on Google which does not require a logon ID. You just type in bard.google.com and the little box will come up where you can put in your question. Bing's version is similar. So as I'm wrapping up here, just with a couple more, you see here 30 English words that end in E with a long E sound. It gives you those 30 words, saves me a tremendous amount of time. Anne's needs were very different. So this is one additional piece that you might find of value for your students or for your people. Anne was going to a job interview. Anne had a transcript that she brought over from France. It was in French, as you would envision. I said, just send it to me. She sent me it in a document. I just copied all the French words, which I could read 0 of, pasted it into ChatGPT and said, translate, paste, you hit return or enter, and it will translate that rapidly. And as I read it, I don't know if it was a perfect translation, but it was very well written from an English perspective. I had very little critique of what that English looked like. One of the last things I did here before I hand this over to Rob, I think, or maybe Lori, because this sort of builds on where I think Lori's headed. I was going to meet with Sukja on Indigenous People Day, which was Columbus Day. So I said, please create a 3-paragraph story about how Columbus discovered America and then how that day has become Indigenous People Day. So something that you could say to a person, say, would you please do this for me? Except in this case, you're just typing it into the computer and you hit enter and back comes 3 paragraphs of the story. I learned from Katie there that I could have tailored that to a different reading level. So that was a good learning for me. I hadn't seen that before. So as I hand this off, ChatGPT, you can use it with a logon. Bard, you can use just for free for nothing. You just log in today and do something. But really think about the questions that you're asking, because those will give you, the better the question you have, the better the answer back to you will be. And you'll learn that over time. It's really fun to use. So with that, I will stop sharing and turn over to Lori, I think.
Let's turn it over to Rob for
Sorry.
some math examples, and then I will do some reading examples.
All right. See if I can get this. I'll try to go kind of quick here. I'm going to cheat a little bit. And I put my prompts in here just so I don't have to type them out because I'm an extremely slow typer. But one thing, as I played with this and got to know it a little better, one thing I definitely want to double hit here is current through 2022. If you're expecting something and happening in Ukraine or something that just happened recently politically, it's not going to give you that no matter how well you write your prompt, because it doesn't have data up to that point. And that took me a second. I kept thinking I was not wording it correctly. Another thing, as the way that you it's all about how you input your question, the quality of what you get back. And rather than reworking, I decided finally to start with a topic that I knew. I knew what a good lesson plan looked like. I knew what a good instructional format looked like. And so I used something that I already knew and then adjusted my wording to kind of see what it wanted from me in the wording and how to kind of perfect how to word or phrase something so that I would get back what I was looking for. And that did a lot for me than kind of just guessing at some of the wording that I wanted. So I zoomed out quite a bit here. And as far as so I went fractions, and as a tutor, you know, you can do a ton on fractions. College and career readiness standards, it actually knew the abbreviation CCRS, so I included the full typed out version here. But create 4 2-hour lessons addressing the following college and career readiness standard fraction and fraction operations. Structure each lesson to include 1 hour of instruction and 1 hour of independent practice. And as suggested, it is pretty fast at how it puts these together. It's really kind of amazing. Unfortunately, in order to have it a reasonable size, it's not going to show everything here, but it's building lesson 2. And as soon as it finishes this output, I'll go through and look at one of these individually broken down lessons. So this could be an entire unit. This could be, and that's what I am doing here. I'm going to kind of do a 4 2-hour lesson chunk and then zoom in a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. What I noticed immediately as a math instructor, so here's my initial question and the beginning of the response from ChatGPT. Lesson 1, understanding fractions, 2 hours. It gives the objective. Definitely, it needs a little polishing, and maybe that's just my imperfect phrasing of the question that I'm asking it. But 1 hour instructional breakdown portion, introduction to fractions, it really does a good job giving you a starting point, especially if it's an area that you're not comfortable with. Introduction to fractions, defining fractions, etc. What I noticed here, though, having taught fractions for a while, introduction to fractions, I would always start there. Adding and subtracting fractions would not be my next go-to. So the order, they had all the important parts here, adding and subtracting, multiplying, dividing, and problem solving. But the order that it suggested as it's generated algorithmically wasn't necessarily wrong, but anyone that's taught fractions typically would teach multiplication first because it's kind of the most natural and the easiest for students to get a handle on. Division next, addition and subtraction with common denominators. So what I like is that everything is here. What it needed was a little bit of an adjustment from an experienced teacher. But for the most part, the bulk of everything I would hope for was here and was pretty well put together. Independent practice is very bullet pointed. So those are exactly the ends with dividing fractions and problem solving. Those are the 4 2-hour lessons. If we were to zoom in a little bit and say specifically, give me, let me put it up here to make the text a little bit bigger. Write 1 hour of instruction following the CCRS standards that explain operation and multiplying and dividing fractions. So I just want more elaboration. I didn't quite get how to explain this properly. So you can zoom in a little bit on any one of those points that it gave you in your 4 broken down 2-hour sessions. and it'll break it down even more. I know this is going fast and it's not particularly easy to read here, but the idea is just that you can start zoomed out, build a big picture, and then kind of zoom in and build as specific as you want. One of the things that I liked before my time here, and that I think is often overlooked in math, is list vocabulary with definitions for fraction operations. So vocab is often overlooked in math because people don't think of math and vocab, the role of vocab in math being as important as it is. But what I was after here, so this covered, there was no terms on this list that I could think of that were important. Network error is not something I've gotten before. The second part was the part I was actually after here. You can ask it to organize it in a more kind of visually pleasing way, which I really liked. Okay. So instead of having it just be kind of a pile of words, depending on what you've asked it to give you, you can often ask it to organize it in a table. If it doesn't give me error, well, that's enough to give you the idea. And even the lesson plans and things like that, it does a really interesting and good job breaking it up into a more visual breakdown, I guess, into a table format. And I mean, I could go on and on for, you can ask it, as was mentioned earlier, for a 15-minute quiz, be specific with times. Do you want a half an hour? Do you want 15 minutes? One thing that I thought was funny when I asked it for a 15-minute quiz on fraction operations was ChatGPT actually said, note, you might want to specify or adjust to the specific difficulty level or content level of your students. So I hadn't included, 8th grade, for example, was the student level, hadn't included that, and it snuck a little reminder in there for me to make sure that you include the appropriate difficulty level. Any questions? Sorry, I know that was an awful lot and pretty quick, but any questions about any of those things?
Would you encourage your students to use AI?
Use and not abuse. It's almost the same argument as calculators. So I would, because there are certain times that that as a student, they just need a little bit more. Maybe they've watched their online homework video and it explained, but they didn't get it. So to be able to input that and get a different explanation is nice. And then maybe from that explanation to pull out a sentence. Maybe there's just one sentence that they're really hung up on, or one term, to be able to pull that out and have that elaborated on, explained, defined, etc., is an extremely powerful thing. So if they were to use it in the right way, absolutely. The scary part is, as many mentioned, you can have it work the complete problem and show every step of the work. And as a teacher, it's very difficult to know if that was an algorithmically generated solution or if that was a genuine solution. But I would say at this point, yes, I would encourage my students to use it because it's too valuable a tool not to, in my opinion.
Thank you, Rob. We're gonna hold the rest of the questions to the end because I realize we're running out of time. I'm going to share my screen and show you some examples for reading. I know that we have some reading only tutors on our call, but all of you ESL tutors are also using, doing reading as part of your lessons. So I thought I would give you an example of like a beginner, intermediate, and advanced lesson. For our lowest level readers at Oakland Literacy Council, we use a special curriculum that is very phonics based, and it teaches like the short vowel sounds step by step. So one way that I could complement that curriculum is ask my ChatGPT to write a story of 150 words at the first grade level with words that features the short A vowel sound and the short I vowel sound. So I'm controlling the amount of vocabulary that would be coming at my student. Okay, so you can see that happening. Then I could follow up and ask ChatGPT to write some comprehension questions for me for the story. And what I liked about this when I've used this is you notice it starts with the very simple kind of literal questions, the who, what, where, but then it also asks some higher level thinking questions like how does Max feel? How does Tim feel? So your student can work on some of those skills as well. And I could follow this up by asking the program to create a worksheet with using some of the vocabulary that was in the story, maybe a fill in the blank worksheet that the student could use to further use the vocabulary. So that was kind of a beginner level question. I'm going to show you an example for more of an intermediate level student. Here at Oakland Literacy Council, one of the things that we notice from our tests that we give in reading is that a lot of our adult learners don't know how to use context clues when they read in order to understand unfamiliar words. And that is a specific skill that you can tutor somebody in. So one of my questions was, let's create a worksheet to use context clues. So notice in the first part of this, it's explaining, it's giving some examples as kind of a modeling exercise. And then it is suggesting further activity that the learners could do on their own. The final example that I wanted to give you is kind of at the highest level. Let's say we have a learner who is working on a goal of a GED. And a lot of the GED, science and social studies, really comes down to being able to read well and understand what you're reading. So I'm going to use kind of some more technical prompt language here that would correspond with what's on the GED. In this case, I'm asking the machine to create a worksheet for citing textual evidence in a science passage at the 9th grade. Doing a little bit more thinking because I've given it some more prompts. So this is a science passage on climate change. So you can see it has the text. It's got some questions. It's got an example here of evidence. And then it's asking some additional questions for somebody to use. So those are just a few of the ways. I've also used this to translate, like Rob was talking about, for our nurse assistants who are learning to be, or our students who are learning to be nurse assistants. We were able to take a lot of the curriculum and translate that into their home languages so they can study. Okay, so we have finished demoing. Does anybody have questions? Can you go ahead and pop any questions in chat and I will read them out and together we'll try to answer them. Nobody has any questions?
I do. I have two, Lori.
Okay, Molly, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I put them in the chat. Number one, can you print out the lesson plans?
Yes.
Yes. If I go back to my ChatGPT screen here, You'll notice when it's generating, can you guys see this clipboard?
Okay.
This allows you to copy everything that it's generated to your clipboard, and you could paste it into Word or whatever program you're using.
Okay, and then on these reading lessons, I really like these reading lessons. Lori, will they be able to like read the lessons out loud to the students? I can't remember what the
Oh, well, Katie, can you answer that question?
I can't remember what the term is when you know somebody reads it out loud so they can hear what the reading
Text to
lessons are.
voice.
Yeah.
So I haven't used that in ChatGPT because there are a lot of specific AI that is used for voice to text.
Okay.
Lango Talk is one that I use, but it does require a subscription. Talk AI is another one. They're chat box and they're specific for back and back communication.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, so I'm going to ask you guys to put into chat, is there one thing that you think you can take away and use with your learner after today's presentation? You can go ahead and type that into chat. I'd love to see some ideas. List of words with problems that students have pronouncing. Mary's asking contact persons for questions. Well, you can call the office, Mary, and between Rob and I will try to answer them. Usha's talking about homonyms, generating news stories at a beginner level, short reading topics on a topic of interest. Yes. Rob, thanks for typing in extra tips here. Creative reading based on different skill levels. Eric says practice sentences using I as in bit and bite. So that's the magic E there that makes bite a long I sound. Dina saying I could ask my student to tell me a story, type in today AI and change who the main characters are, ask it to make it funny or serious. Denise says I'm going to generate a 50-question test for the Michigan driver's license knowledge. Wow, that's great. That's a great idea, Denise.
Lori,
Zenobia is talking about.
Do you mind if I answer that question? It looks like Lynn asked if AI can create conversation questions.
Yeah, I didn't even get to that point. Take it away.
Sorry. So yes, you can actually have a whole debate with ChatGPT. You can prompt it to say, let's have a discussion about anything you want. You take this point of view, I will take this point of view, and it will go back and forth based on its requirements for that conversation. So you can definitely generate conversation questions. You can also have a conversation.
All right. Thank you for your ideas. I encourage you to, at least try ChatGPT, setting up a free account, and play around with it. It's surprising what it can do. It isn't perfect, but it is a time saver. Any final comments? Just go ahead and unmute yourself.
I have a question. Which would be better, to go to bard.google.com or ChatGPT? Which would be a better one to use? Any suggestions, or stick with ChatGPT?
Lori, I've got 2 suggestions if you want me to answer.
Sure, go ahead.
One reason I run into people who don't like to set up logon IDs. So if you don't like to set up a logon ID, for a system like ChatGPT, you can access the same functionality at Google or at Bing without having to set up a login ID, number one. Number two, those Google and Bing, like what the other Rob was saying, ChatGPT is not updated past its load date, like what Katie said, 2022. Bard and Bing will do both. They'll look at current stuff as well as the past load, if you will, of their data. So those are a couple advantages, but I still use ChatGPT because it's just what I started with.
So
If you'd like
Rob,
something-
Which is more user friendly, Bard or ChatGPT?
They're both very user friendly. The one step that you avoid using Bard is that you don't have to set up a logon ID. My other experience is the web version of these systems are, I think, Katie and Rob, you can correct me, I think they're unlimited on how many questions you can ask. If you use your phone and use an app for ChatGPT or Bard, they are limited. That's my experience. And it'll say you can only ask so many questions in a day. And the minute I get that, I say, I got to use the web version. So you can either use the web version on your phone, or you can use a web version on your computer, as opposed to the app, if you will. And I don't mean to be heavy technical there.
hey Rob, is Copilot Bing's Chat GPT?
I don't remember. I think it's just Bing Chat. I forget. I
Okay.
was looking at it, but I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Great.
I want to thank Rob Connolly, Rob Wilson, and Katie Thompson for joining us today. And thank all of you for taking an hour out of your day to expand your skills and your knowledge, and for all the time that you give our learners. Please know that we deeply appreciate your time and what you're doing for Oakland Literacy's adult learners. As I mentioned, the recording of this, as well as the links to the items that Katie shared, will all be in the Tutor newsletter coming out on November 1st. Look for that. And thanks. Have a great rest of your day, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Lori.
you.
Thank you.